Hi everyone. The discussion is about personal protective equipment. Myself, Dr. G. Sarojini, Associate Professor, Department of Chemical Engineering, Hindustan College of Engineering and Technology. The personal protective equipment, it is defined as any safety equipment that the workers must wear to prevent injury in the workplace. They should assess the workplace, that is the supervisor or the safety officers from specific work unit will conduct a hazard assessment to determine jobs that require the use of personal protective equipment. Then they will go for the elimination or reduction of hazards found using engineering and administrative controls. Then they will suggest for the usage of appropriate personal protective equipment. Hazard assessment. It is a technique used to identify the hazard. That is, the employer must evaluate every job function. They should determine if hazards are present or not. They should check for hazards to all parts of the body. Then they should determine appropriate personal protective equipments. Some of the common hazards includes chemical exposures, falling or dropping objects, particulates, temperature extremes, light radiation, moving equipments and parts, sharp objects, etc. The selection of personal protective equipment should protect each equipment from identified hazards. It should be of safe design and construction. It should be sanitary and reliable. It should provide each employee with a good fit, and it should meet the American National Standard Institute standard norms or other approved standard norms. So the hazard is exposed by means of different types, that is inhalation, skin absorption, injection and injection. Knowing the hazard and how to protect yourself, it is a key to your safety. Thus the personal protective equipment act as a barrier between hazard and our body. Hierarchy of control, they will be going for the elimination of hazard or substitution of different substance for reducing the hazard. First, that is the highest level of protection. They will eliminate the hazard from the workplace. They will substitute using safer item or substance. In chemical industry, they will be using same chemical but in different form. That does not hazards. So it should be remembered that the particle size of the substance increases, the hazard level increases. So there are different types of personal protective equipment depending upon the organ to be protected. The personal protective equipment should are classified differently. So here the head for eyes, face, hands, feet, body and ear and the respiratory organ should be protected with personal protective equipment. Depending upon the hazard, the appropriate personal protective equipment should be selected. For head protection, usually head protection is needed when employees are in areas where there is a potential for injury to the head from falling objects, flying objects, fixed objects, protruding material, high voltage equipment. Then here for protecting head, the hat will be using as a protecting equipment, that is personal protective equipment. Here the hat will be divided into different types depending upon the usage. So the different types of head protection will be falling under type 1 and type 2. Type 1, it will reduce the force of impact from your floor to the top of the head directly, whereas type 2, it will provide protection against both side lateral and impact as well as the blows to the top of the head, where class G and class E, it is used to withstand electrical hazards, that is it is tested to withstand 2000 volts for class G. Class E hats will be tested to withstand 20,000 volts, whereas class C, it is a normal hat. It will not be giving any electrical protection. Next, eyes protection. So eyes protection is needed when an employee works the potential of causing eye injury from physical, chemical or radiation agents. Examples of eye hazards includes chemical splashes, blood splashes, intense light, dust or other flying particles, molten metals splashes. So safety glasses are recommended for protecting the eyes. Face protection. The face protection is needed when work presents the potential of causing facial injury from physical, chemical or radiation agents. Examples of hazards includes contents under pressure, splash hazard, flying objects or particles, electrical work. Usually, face shield and welding sheet will be suggested as the appropriate personal protective equipments to protect face. Hand protection. So hand protection is needed when work presents a potential of causing hand injury from physical, chemical or radiation agents. Examples of hazards will be including absorbing harmful substances, sharp objects capable of causing cuts, abrasion or punctures, chemical or thermal burns, electrical work, high low temperature work. Usually gloves will be suggested for protecting hands, and glove selection depends upon the types of hazard. For example, chemical hazard, we should choose compatible material that suits for all chemicals. So gloves are different forms, that is disposable gloves, fabric gloves, chemical resistant gloves, metal mesh gloves and then aluminized fabric gloves. So here disposable gloves, it protects against mild irritants, whereas fabric gloves, it will be protecting and insulate against heat and cold. Leather gloves, it will be used for guard against injuries from sparks, whereas chemical resistant gloves, it is used to protect against chemical exposure. And then metal mesh gloves, it is used to protect against cuts and scratches, whereas aluminized fabric gloves, it is used to insulate hand from intense heat. So depending upon the hazard we are going to adapt, we should select suitable gloves. Feet protection. So feet protection is needed when work presents hazards that have potential to cause a foot injury. Examples of hazards include falling objects, rolling objects, piercing, cutting injuries, electrical work, chemical exposure. Usually, shoes are recommended to protect the feet. Next, body protection. So body protection is very important. It is needed when work represents a potential for contamination or injury to other parts of your body such as legs, arms, backs and chest. Examples of hazards include heat, splashes, cold or hot metals and liquids, impact, sharp objects, chemicals, electrical work, radiation. The protecting equipments will be coveralls, full body suits, sleeves, apron, and the coats including lab coats, insulated coats, and designed coats. For protecting body, protective clothes comes in a variety of material, each effective against a particular hazard. For example, paper-like fiber gives protection against dust and sparkles, whereas treated wool and cotton fiber cloths gives protection against dust, abrasion, rough and irritating surfaces, whereas duck will give protection against cuts handling heavy, sharp or rough material, whether leather-like material gives protection against dry heat or flames. Rubber and neoprene will be protecting against chemical and physical hazards. Treated woolen cloth will be giving protection against dust, abrasion, rough and irritating surfaces. So depending upon the hazard, the protecting material should be, that is the clothing material should be decided. Ear protection. So ear protection is needed when an average noise level of an area reaches 90 decibel. Usually hear loss occurs as a result of damage to the delicate structure of the ear. The ear net protection must be made available to employees when the average noise level reaches 85 decibels. The examples of hazard includes mechanical rooms, shops, construction sites when working with machinery or tools. Usually ear plugs, ear muffs, cap and then canal caps are recommended as the personal protective equipments to protect ears. Respiratory protection. So respiratory protection is very important as it affects the lungs directly. So it is needed when work presents an inhalation hazard. Examples of respiratory hazards includes work with uncontained chemicals, working with highly toxic chemicals, working with an dusty environment, and then painting, welding. The protecting equipments include dust mask, powered air purifying respirator, supplied air line respirator, self-contained breathing apparatus. So these respirator will be included when an engineering controls are not feasible or not being implemented. And then when exposure levels exceeds the permissible exposure limit, the respiratory will be suggested. So care should be given for personal protective equipment. Always check personal protective equipment for damage before and after use. Clean personal protective equipment before storing. Dispose and replace damaged personal protective equipment. Properly store personal protective equipment and avoid conditions that could damage them such as light, heat, etc. Don't fix or repair a damaged personal protective equipments. So these were the different equipments used for protecting different parts of the body, um, and then the conditions where to use them. Thank you.